Hi, everybody. I'm ready to start here. Welcome to the Fabric Global Online Conference. It's a pleasure to me to be here today on this event. Definitely looking forward for a full day of learning, full day of community. So let's get started. All right. The topic for today's session is Introduction to Microsoft Fabric, Data Analytics for the Era of AI. It's a good session to kick off this long day, right? Because the idea will be basically to cover in about 50 minutes uh, all the basis of what is Fabric and some of the things that we can accomplish with it, right? Then during the day, you will see all the other sessions which have more insight in some of the features, right? But the idea now will be to go with this introduction. Mm. A little bit about myself. My name is Javier Villegas. I am from Argentina. I work as IT director at Mediterranean Shipping Company for the last 18 years. I've been involved with SQL Server and the Microsoft Data Platform for the last 30 years. I am Microsoft MVP in the Data Platform Award area since 2016. I'm also Microsoft Certified Trainer. Recently, I got my certification as Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate. We're going to be talking about this certification in some of the slides later on. I'm also one of the former Azure Data Community Advisory member, and I define myself as a technical speaker. I'm a community person, mostly involved with the PaaS community and be there. Right? I'm also one of the leaders of our local community here, SQL Argentina, where we have our monthly events. They are in Spanish mostly, but you are welcome to join us if you feel comfortable with the Spanish. I also have my contact information on the left side of the screen in case you would like to reach me if you have further questions from this presentation or if you just want to get in touch with me and network, I'm more than welcome to expand communities. So let's start. So Microsoft Fabric unified analytics solution for the era of AI. There are certain keywords here that we will try to go through this presentation and see the meaning and what this can mean for the whole or for the overall data platform solution, right? So Microsoft Fabric was announced as a public preview in May 2023 during the Microsoft Build conference, right? Then in November for the Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft announced it as general availability, right? Meaning that since that point onward, it was ready for prime time, ready for production workload with an SLA, support ticket, etc., right? So let's say that in 2 months for now, it's going to reach the first year, right? And the numbers that Microsoft is showing on the usage for Fabric are really great. Right? A lot of enterprises, a lot of big companies are getting into this data platform for the era of AI solution. Right? In the same session, in where they presented Fabric as GA, right? Arun, which is the corporate VP for Azure Data, also mentioned this interesting phrase that I just wanted to highlight and share with all of you. Right? Data is the fuel that powers AI. Right? Definitely, without data, there are no models to be trained, and at the end of the day, there is no AI. So definitely, this is the backend. This is the background process for everything that comes at the top of it. Right? We're going to be talking about AI at some point. Right? We will see how we can feed certain component of the data platform with Microsoft Fabric. All right, so Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end analytic platform that provides a single integrated environment for data professional and the business to collaborate on data projects, right? I wanted to read it exactly as it is here because definitely it covers everything, right? So first of all, end to end, what does it mean, right? So we have everything we need in a single solution, from the ingestion of the data into the solution, right, Fabric in this case, until the reports or analytics that we need to take from the insight that we got from those data. So end-to-end analytic platform, right? And then we have the phrase single integrated environment, right? So it's not that we have to go through different places to build our data analytics solution, right? We have everything we need in a single pane of glass, right? So one of the most important things of Microsoft Fabric is that it's a SaaS solution, software as a service. What does it mean? We won't need to deploy any server, any virtual machine. We don't need to download any driver of or software and install in a computer, right? We don't need to do that. Everything is provided as software as a service. So we're going to connect to the Fabric portal and we will have everything we need, and we will see that is in a matter of seconds, right? So I remember back in the days when we had to plan for a proof of concept, for a POC on analytic project, right? We have to buy the servers. First of all, dimension in terms of the sizing for each of the server, get the software, get the licenses, set up the network, and put everything just to start with a proof of concept, right? That was definitely quite costly, let's say, and definitely we cannot start right away. Let's say today we come up with this idea for this specific data analytic project, and it's going to take a while till we prepare everything to start either with the project itself or with the proof of concept. Nowadays, with Microsoft Fabric, with a couple of clicks, we have everything we need in a SaaS solution. So let's say in a matter of days, right, we can create our project, we can validate our project, right? And eventually, if this is what we are looking for our data analytics solution, we can work on it. And let's say this is not what we need, we can just shut down everything and delete all the work we did in no time, right? Again, without having to provision any server, any virtual machine, any software. So that's the power of a SaaS solution for data analytics, right? And also, Fabric, as I said before, is a single pane of glass that you can do any kind of data analytic project, right? You can do data warehousing, you can do data science, you can do data engineering, and also real-time analytics. We will go through this point very carefully in the next few slides, right? What is also interesting about Microsoft Fabric is that this is an evolution of, previous cloud services that are still available in Microsoft. So what does it mean? Well, till now, we had Data Factory. We have also Azure Synapse Analytics, and we also have Power BI, right? With Data Factory, we can create our pipeline to ingest any kind of data into Synapse Analytics. And then within Synapse, we have to provision a dedicated pool, a serverless pool. We do our processing over there. And then with Power BI, we just connect to the warehouse, the lakehouse, whatever, and we generate the reports that we need, right? This is, let's say, the previous solution, which is, by the way, still available, but it has certain, let's say, caveats over there. So if you need to do a project like this, you have to buy Data Factory, buy Synapse, and also Power BI. You have to do all the network connectivity within Azure to connect and to wire all these three components, right? Now in Fabric, all this is unified. It's a single solution. So you don't have to go to the Data Factory portal and then switch to Synapse Studio and then finally go to Power BI to do the whole thing. You have everything you need, and also with a single billing, right? Before you had to pay for the pipeline, for the storage and processing, and also for Power BI, different things. Now you have a single billing, right, for what is Microsoft Fabric. I also like to compare Microsoft Fabric with another Microsoft solution, right? We all know that for productivity, right, Microsoft has Office or Microsoft 365, in where this is some sort of umbrella in where underneath you have products like Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, you name it, right? So at the, let's say, bottom of this product, you also have the storage layer, which is OneDrive, right? In where from each of the components, you save and store the documents, right, to OneDrive, and then you collaborate between, the different products, right? So Microsoft Office, Microsoft 365 is for productivity what Microsoft Fabric is for data analytics, right? So within Microsoft Fabric, you can have solutions like data integration, data engineering, data warehousing, real-time analytics, and business intelligence in a single solution, right? What is also interesting and also an evolution of what Microsoft used to, let's say, offer before is the storage layer, right? You have this concept of OneLake in where, from every solution, every project that you may have within Fabric, you can store the data and share within different projects. Which is also super interesting here is that for the very first time, Microsoft has adapted the open source format for storage, which is Delta Parquet, right? In the previous solution, which was Synapse Analytics, the storage was a Microsoft proprietary thing, right? So it was completely closed, so nothing you can interact with, right? Within Fabric is Delta Lake, which is the storage which is used for many others data analytics solutions in the industry, right? Databricks and from other cloud vendors as well, right? So super interesting to have for the very first time this open format available for us within Fabric. What can we do with this? Okay, so when we do the data integration, so the ingestion into OneLake, right, we will have either our data warehouse or our lakehouse. We will see it in a minute, right, stored as Delta Parquet, right? And if eventually we need to share that data for another project with some colleagues which are working on a different project, but they need the same data that we are working with, we don't need to, let's say, duplicate the data. We can just create a single shortcut and we will offer the data for them with a single copy within the system. This way, we can avoid all this problem of data duplication, which is a pain point on every, let's say, enterprise analytic solution. Right? All right. So on a different angle, right, we mentioned that we have end-to-end data ingestion, storage and processing for lakehouse with data science or data engineering or warehouse, right? And we also have Power BI. This is, all the applications that, or all the kind of project that we can work with, right? Then we have a layer which is a serverless compute in where we can use any engine like Transact SQL for a data warehouse or Spark, right, for data engineering or data science, right? We can have also KQL and analysis services. All this is serverless, and we don't need to worry about that, right? Before in Synapse Analytic, we have to define if it is serverless, if it is a dedicated pool, the processing power, etc., etc. So right now, is serverless, is for us, and is there when we need, right? Then within OneLake, remember this storage layer that we have always with Delta Parquet format, we can store a data warehouse for relational projects, lakehouse for non-relational or semi-structured data, right? QStore or any kind of data set that we need for reporting, right? So as I mentioned before, this concept of data sharing, right, is super interesting because you will feel super familiar within the Fabric portal because everyone that is coming from, for example, Power BI are super used to this concept. Right? You have the ideas of workspaces in where you have all the components that you need, right, for your project, for your solution, right? So in Fabric is exactly the same. And within one specific workspace, you can have your data set, your warehouse, your lakehouse. And if you need to share, this information to any other project, you can just do it with a single shortcut. We will see it in a minute. The whole idea for this is try to minimize or avoid the data silos, right? We know that in all projects, maybe every area of the company, sales, HR, operations, they have their own data sets and their own copy of the data, right? With this approach, right, we can have the same data for everybody and share it super, super simply, right? So this is quite interesting because this concept of shortcut, right? We have the data, right? And we share it internally for other, workspace or other projects, which is also super interesting of this concept of shortcut is that we can get, and also taking advantage of the open source storage format, Delta Parquet, we can create shortcut of data that is sitting on a different cloud provider, right? For example, let's say that we need a data set that is sitting on an Amazon S3 bucket, or if on Databricks, right? Or in Google, right? We can super easily, right, connect to those data sources, get and create the shortcut and take advantage and use that data internally within Fabric without copying the data. So the data will still live at the source in Amazon, in Google, in Databricks. But we will create this shortcut and use that data set within our Fabric workspace. Right? So super, super easy and super powerful, right? So we can see that then with Spark Notebook, we're going to be able to, let's say, showing data that are sitting in multiple cloud providers, including, our local lakehouse, right? And combine it with data from other sources. Super easy and super quick, right? So in a matter of minutes, you can take advantage of this, right? So going a little bit deeper, right? When we get into the Fabric portal, we will notice that the experience, as I said earlier, is quite similar to Power BI, right? So in the lower left corner, there is the Power BI icon that now we can go and switch between the different, profiles, right? Data factory, data engineering, data science, data warehouse, etc., etc. So what do we need in order to start with this? Well, first of all, we need to have the Fabric tenant. What can we do with this, or how can we get one of these? Well, basically, Microsoft is giving away to everybody, right, a 60-day trial of Microsoft Fabric. So for free, you will be able to validate your project, right? You, of course, need to have a Microsoft 365 account, right? And the whole tenant, etc., to have all the user security and those kind of things, right? But in order to have the platform, you can have it for free for 60 days. We will dig deeper in that thing in a moment, right? So we have all these different experiences within Fabric, right? Data engineering, so we can work with Spark to do any kind of data transformation at scale. We can have also data warehousing. So if eventually we have a traditional data warehouse that we've been using it, all this, or any of the SQL offering that we had before, on-premise or even in Azure. Now we can do it within Fabric, right? Data science, right? If we need to eventually get data to do any kind of machine learning with Spark, right? It's also possible with Fabric. Data Factory, as I mentioned before, to ingest data and do any kind of ETL, right? Power BI to get all the insight and the report and the dashboard from the data, right? And there is also another possibility, which is real-time analytics, right? Meaning that we can use, for example, events, right, coming from service bus. So let's say we have events coming from any IoT farm, let's say values related to temperature or to sensors or whatever. We can analyze those streams in real time in any kind of volume. Right? We will see something in action later on. All right. During the presentation till now, I've been mentioning multiple times lakehouse and warehouses, right? I would like to stop for a second, right, and clarify to everyone, right, which are each of them and how we can use them and what for, right? First of all, in terms of volume, in both cases, this is unlimited. We won't have any limit in terms of sizing. But what kind of data we can handle in each one, lakehouse and warehouse? In a lakehouse, we can handle unstructured data, right, like files, semi-structured data, like, for example, JSON, or structured data, like tables and columns. In a warehouse, we can only work with structured data. So who is using each of them, right? For a lakehouse, mainly a data engineer or a data scientist, right? And for warehouse, mainly a warehouse developer or a SQL engineering. And the skill set that we need is that for lakehouse, we need to be familiar with Spark, Scala, Python, R, etc. And for a warehouse, SQL, Transact SQL, right? So definitely, those are the things that I wanted to highlight before moving on, because in the demo, we will create both a lakehouse and a warehouse. So having this concept fresh will help us to move through the solution that we will build later on. Right? So again, we have all these environments, all these profile within the same Fabric portal, so we can switch between each other super easy, right? So the ingestion part definitely is data factory, and then if we do a data engineering project, we're going to use Spark and the Synapse part to work on it. Always, as I said, having OneLake as the storage layer, which is common for everything, right? So this is super interesting because Microsoft keep adding constantly new features, right, and new enhancements to every single component within Fabric, right, for data engineering, for data warehousing, right, for real-time analytics. We will see that we can create all these interesting flows and takes decision based on real-time data, right? And then, of course, Power BI. Right? Power BI is by far the business intelligence application that help us to get a lot of insight from our data analytics project, right? So if we are familiar with Power BI, we will definitely love all the enhancements that Power BI has within Fabric, right? And one of these is, and I would say one of the most important one, is a very, very key enhancement on how we get the data into Power BI, right? So nowadays, right, in Power BI, we have two modes, right, to access the data. Each of these modes has pros and cons, right? For example, one of the modes is direct query mode, right? The benefit of direct query is that from Power BI, we go directly to the source and we get the data in real time, right? The con is basically that it takes a while to go to the source and run the query and get it into our report. The other mode is import mode, right? The pro for import mode is that it's super fast. Why? Because it gets the data, it gets a snapshot of the data into Power BI, so all the queries go to this snapshot, right? So it's super easy and super fast to get the results. The con is that since we are based on snapshots, right, we are not always accessing real-time data, right, because those snapshots sometimes are a little bit delayed, right? In Fabric, Power BI within Fabric, there is a new mode which combined the best of each of the previous modes. The new mode is Direct Lake, in where we have the possibility to go directly to the data source, right, as import mode, and sorry, as direct query mode, right, with the benefit of being super fast, right, as import mode. So the Direct Lake combine the goodness of both direct query and import mode. Super, super important, and you will see that it's one of the most important enhancements within Power BI in Fabric. Right? So I was also talking about everything that we can do so far with Fabric, warehousing, engineering, science, etc., etc., etc. But there is a brand new component within Fabric, which is called Data Activator. This is completely new. It was not there before, right? Like, for example, Synapse or Power BI that was as a cloud service. Data Activator is completely new. So what is Data Activator? First of all, it's a no-code, low-code experience, right, which allows you to analyze real-time streaming, right, and based on certain rules that we can easily create, right, we can take certain actions. What does it mean in plain English? Well, first of all, we're going to be evaluating the data that comes, and we can create rules, right? For example, let's say that we have real-time data coming and is sensors with the temperature, right? So every few seconds we get, a new uh, data, a new value. So we have to evaluate, and we create a rule saying, hey, if there are 5 or more consecutive repetitions of the value that goes above this temperature, or for example below that temperature, take an action, raise a trigger, right? And you can do any kind of action, like for example sending a Teams message, sending an email through Outlook, execute any Power Automate activity, or any custom activity, like for example PowerShell, right? So you get the data, you analyze, you create super easily with a no-code, low-code experience the rule, right? And depending on the rule that you define, you take action, right? Super easy, and for certain cases, it will allow you to not to be just constantly monitoring your Power BI, right? For anomalies, right? Just have that activator do this constant validation on the fly in real time with the rule that you define. And if you get these anomalies that you are looking after, right, you get, for example, an email or something like that, right? So that activator, a new component within the Fabric solution, right? All right, we know that the AI solution for Microsoft is Copilot. Copilot is everywhere, in Office, in Windows, everywhere, right? And Microsoft also has announced as preview Copilot in Microsoft Fabric. So what is this Copilot solution? We know that Copilot is basically the assistant in where we can interact with the solution using any kind of prompts, right? And in plain English with natural language, right? So which are the things that we can do within Fabric? And we have multiple areas. For example, if we need to, let's say, develop a pipeline to get the data from a data source to get into OneLake, Copilot will help us to define the flow. If we need to write, for example, DAX calculation within Power BI, right? We can interact with the Copilot and say, hey, listen, I need to create this, this, and this, and the end result will be the DAX code to put into your report. Same for Spark, same for T-SQL if you're working on a warehouse, right? So super easy, you will be able to do all these kind of things, right? Interact with natural language, right? Generate the reports, generate DAX code, the Azure Data Factory pipeline, SQL, machine learning models, or generate triggers within that activator, right? We will see one more use case later on in a video. All right, so making a pause here, we have another possibility, right? Which is something that was also announced. I will show you in a second, but let's imagine this solution or this scenario, right? For any kind of data analytics project, you have the first phase, which is ingesting the data, right? Ingesting the data means that you will connect to your data source, any kind of data source, and at certain point, you will get the data from your operational data, Oracle, SQL Server, Cosmos DB, whatever you name it, right? And you will extract the data from your operational environment and put it within OneLake, within Fabric, right? And then you will do your processing, your analytics with that data, right? But that extraction that you do, right, is on a schedule basis, right? Once an hour, once every 6 hours, once a day, depending on your specific scenario, right? So let's say that if you are doing analytics for the sales of your company, right? Maybe if you do the extractions every 6 hours, what you're going to be seeing in the final report, it won't be live, right? It will have certain amount of time left, right? So it's not going to be super real time. Okay, to handle this, Microsoft has announced mirroring in Microsoft Fabric. What it does, simply connect to your data source and your databases, right? And get the data in almost real time within OneLake, right? So you can connect to these 4 data sources as for now, Cosmos DB, Azure SQL, Snowflake, and MongoDB. And if there is a change at the source, you will have that change immediately generated and replicated within OneLake within Fabric, right? And as you can see here, you have relational databases like Azure SQL DB. You have non-relational and unstructured like Cosmos DB, and you also have, third-party vendors that are not Microsoft, Snowflake and MongoDB, right? So let's put this example, and again, going to sales, right? Our line of business operation application is running at the top of Azure SQL DB, right? And, when the sales people update the inventory or, generate the new sales or the stock or whatever, we can seamlessly connect to this Azure SQL DB, right? And get the data of those tables immediately into OneLake. That means that we have the data in real time, right? So we can do analytics with real-time data, right? This feature, mirroring, is in preview, right? And nowadays it's available for all these 4 data sources. And what Microsoft is saying that they will be expanding to connect to SQL Server, to Oracle, and other engines. So we will be able to get data in real time for analytical purposes, right? So a super nice feature. I love it, and I've been testing it. So really, really nice. Right? Maybe not for all the tables within our database, but for certain key areas, right? Depending on our project, is going to be super, super good to use. Right? And now we will go to an additional feature within Copilot, right? Copilot for Power BI, right? I would like you to see this short video, right? So then I will explain a little bit more. Let's roll the video.
Introducing the next generation of AI in Microsoft Power BI. Copilot in Power BI empowers your people to unlock the full potential of your data and move from data to insights faster. Now, with Copilot in Power BI, you can use natural language to bring your data to life. Simply describe the visuals and insights you're looking for, and next generation AI will create your report and help you refine it. You can then dig into this data further by asking a question, and Copilot will find the best answer. Not only does Copilot help you visualize your data, but it taps into Power BI's advanced analysis capabilities to help you find key influencers and outliers and create forecasts. Copilot can summarize your data into easy-to-understand text narratives that help others quickly get important and relevant insights. And for analysts who are creating calculations and modeling data, you can simply describe what you want, and the code is automatically generated. With Copilot in Power BI, turning data into impact has never been easier.
Turning data into impact, right? You see that you can create your visuals based on natural language, right? So you can interact with a model, right, with natural language. So you don't have to stick to static visuals, right? You can interact with Power BI in Copilot saying, give me the top three sales and compare it with the last quarter, right? And it will generate a visual for you right away. So you can, let's say, do some sort of chat with your data and get all the insights right away, right? Without Copilot, you may have to go to the Power BI developer and say, hey, I may need to have this visual, right? So you have like this static report or dashboard over there. But now with Power BI, you can easily interact with this in Copilot, right? And get all the insights. So this is a great, great feature. So at the top of what I mentioned before, of helping you to write DAX code, Spark, R, Scala, or SQL, right? You can also interact in natural language with your model and get all the insight that you need. Super, super powerful.
Introducing.
All right, so all good here. So let's start to see this in action for a minute. All right, so here I'm connected to my Fabric portal, right? And as I showed you before, here in the lower left corner, you have all the different profiles: Power BI, Data Factory, Data Activator, right? Data Engineer. So all the ones that we saw in the slides before, right? So I will go to, for example, data warehouse, right? So, again, within the same Azure portal, uh, everything has adapted to work in a data warehouse project, right? And here I have all the workspaces that I've been working with till now, right? So in order to start with this project, right, I will go to workspaces and I will create a new workspace, and I will call it Global Fabric Conference, right? The name is available. We can even, upload an icon here, an image, and then in the advanced part, we go to the licensing, right? So we can use the premium capacity, or in this case, as I am using right now, we choose the trial license that I've been using here. So I hit apply, and what we have right now is my new workspace, completely empty, right? In where we can start creating our components for our analytic solution. So I will go to new item and I will create, for example, a lake house, right? For the lake house, the only thing we have to do here is just specify a name. I will call it Global Fabric Lakehouse 01. So in a matter of few seconds, actually, we have our lakehouse created. See how the interface has adapted to the lakehouse solution, right? So here I can create or open a new notebook, right? Create a semantic model. Here I have all the tables that I can create. In this case, is empty or files, and then I have here's options to start ingesting data. I will go back to my workspace. Here, we see that for the lakehouse, I have the SQL Analytic endpoint and the semantic model, right? And the lakehouse itself. I will go back here to new item, and now I will create a data warehouse. All right. So it is for storage. Let's put here warehouse. So I will create my warehouse, and I will call it Global Fabric Warehouse 01. And now when I hit create, again, in a matter of seconds, I have the warehouse created, right? And again, the interface has adapted to a warehouse. See, now I don't have the option for notebook anymore. I have new SQL query, right? And here I have schemas and tables. Because again, it's a warehouse. It's not. It's only relational structure option, right? So I go back to my workspace and I have my lakehouse, my warehouse, and now I have to get data into my solution, right? So I will go to new item. I will do data pipeline, right? I will name it pipeline 1. And again, this solution right now is adjusting within the portal to be able to work with the pipeline. Again, without going anywhere, right? Everything within my portal. So I go here to my wizard, copy data assistant, right? And we'll see what we have. Basically, when we do this ETL, basically we have to connect to the source, do any kind of transformation if we want to, and then put it into a destination, right? For the source, as you can see, I will hit here, view more, we have available multiple sources, which are, Microsoft, non-Microsoft, relational, not relational, right? SQL, we have Oracle, Azure SQL, Dataverse, Salesforce. We can go down and dig a little bit more. We have MongoDB, MySQL, Cosmos, Amazon S3, Google, Dynamics, you name it. All right. So from here, we just go here and choose the one that was SAP HANA, right? And we connect there and we get the data into OneLake. All right. For the matter of this demo, I will go to this tab, sample data, and we will see that there are 4 data sets: COVID-19, New York taxi, right? Diabetes, and public holidays. And these are in different formats: CSV, JSON, and Parquet, right? So I will go to, for example, COVID data, right? And there are these 4 tables or sets, right? It's doing a preview right now, right? So it's going to finish with the preview. It's going to show us the initial few rows, right? Then we hit next, right? We have to select the destination, right? We can create from here a new lakehouse or warehouse, but I will use the one that we already have. I will send this to the lakehouse that we created earlier. Sorry, I will send it to the warehouse. So I have now the option to load the data into an existing table, which I don't have, or to a new table. So I will choose load to a new table. I will name my my table Bing. Let's remove the Bing COVID-19 underscore data. And here I have the columns, right? The data type, and we can do any mapping on the destination. We can change the column names. We can eventually change the data type. We can remove columns. We can do any kind of combination, everything from here. So we hit next. We have the final review here. So we get the sample data into the warehouse. We hit save and run. And basically what it's doing right now is we just generate our pipeline that will grab the data from the source and insert it into my warehouse, right? If we go here, we have the monitoring option, right? So now the pipeline is queue, right? And then we'll start to process, right? While we wait for this, now it's in progress. We take a few seconds. Um, I will go back to my lakehouse, right? In lakehouse, as we said, we can store relational, non-relational data. So I will go here to files, right? I will say upload file, and I will go to my local computer, right? And I can get any file. For example, I have a CSV file here, right? And now what I'm doing is uploading the file into OneLake. This is a file, a CSV file, right? That in no time I will see it within OneLake. So when we go here, if we check on it, we're going to get a preview, right? And as you can see, this is a CSV file, right? I can also come back here and hit these three dots and say load to tables, to a new table. So what it will tell me or require me is a proper naming convention. The dashes is not optimal. We'll put underscore, right? I will say that the headers are in the first row, and I'm using the comma as a separator. So I hit load, right? So now it's basically converting that CSV file that I have on my local machine, right? Uploaded as a file and now being converted to a table within Fabric. I will go back to, let me go here. Oh, okay, it's done. So if I go here, I have now everything as a table. Right? I can, create a notebook here and work with the Spark and combine with this data. If I go back to the warehouse, right, now we see that in my schema DBO, I have the table COVID-19, right, which I got from my sample data store, and now I have it as a table. So I can even do right click, new query, select top 100. And what I have, everything within the portal within moving out, right? I can work with transact SQL. So let me select top 5, for example. All right. So, and here we can combine the sources, right? All right. So we just saw how to create a lakehouse, how to create a lakehouse, how to get data from both my local machine as a file or from the pipeline using Data Factory, right? So we have a really quick overview of how to accomplish this. All right. So to wrap up, right? I leave you here some information on how you can continue getting in touch with Fabric. There are a lot of community resources. There are videos. There are learning series, right? The Learn Together series that I will mention in a bit, right? There are ebooks. There are webinars. Everything you need. You have all the links here. If you want to start, if you want to get your trial, aka.ms/fabric. That is your starting point, right? From there, you can subscribe to these 60-day trials and start getting in touch, right? There is a certification, the DP 600, right? There is an exam. So you can get in touch. You can, get your training for Fabric. You can do all the training available in Microsoft Learn, right, and get a discount in the exam. Then there is the Learn Live Together Fabric Edition. There are in multiple languages, right, in Spanish, in English. I was part of both of them. There are 9 different modules and you go end to end, right, covering everything, right? If you go to YouTube and you check Learn Live Fabric, you will get all the modules, right? And they are available. They were so popular. I was glad to be able to deliver some of this module with other colleagues, right? Also, the Fabric Career Hub, right, in where you have use cases, interviews, discount, training, everything you need to get in touch with Fabric. As you can see, Microsoft is putting a lot of training, a lot of information in here for us to get trained and get familiar with Fabric, right? So we can even have practice exams, right? And finally, schedule a real exam, the DP 600, right? So Fabric Cloud Skill Challenge, again, you could get trained within the Learn portal, right? Well, this is it, right? Again, we were rushing to have the end-to-end idea of what we can accomplish with Fabric, right? We saw what it is, and later on today with the other sessions, you will go in deep in every module and every component within Fabric, right? I'm not sure if there are questions or anything. Let me go to the chat. I saw the chat popping up multiple times, but I was not able to read anything. Javier, we use CSV file for this exercise. What if the source file is Excel? Will it work or it need to be converted to flat file first? I will always recommend to go to a CSV file, but if you use data flow Shen 2, you will be able to get the data directly from an Excel file. All right. Let me see if there are, as both data warehouse and lakehouse data stored in Delta Lake format, is there any different how the data stored in warehouse and lakehouse tables? For you as an end result, it's exactly the same. You have a lakehouse and a data warehouse. Underneath is Delta Parquet table, but for you it's a relational store for the warehouse or a lakehouse with semi-structured data. Right? Javier, are there any plans to also support Apache Iceberg in OneLake? Answer is stay tuned. Right? As someone who has been working with Synapse and Data Factory before, I had this question around Fabric, which with the Fabric becoming the point of focus for Microsoft, that it means at some point all code in Synapse and Data Factory will be forced to move to Fabric. This is a tricky question. You know, Synapse, Data Factory, and also Power BI are now part of Fabric, right? But you have it as a, let's say, standalone solution, and the former Synapse with the own storage, etc. Right? I can't say if you will be forced to move to Fabric. As you can see, Microsoft is betting and pointing all the things to Fabric. So I don't know what's going to happen, honestly, right? I can give you my particular impression here. I have projects with Data Factory. I have projects with Azure Synapse Analytics, right? And I'm moving them into Fabric, right? Because again, all the innovation for sure will go and is going to Fabric as we speak. There is a blog and there is a roadmap in where Microsoft shows to everybody, right, what they are planning and when there's going to be delivered within Fabric. Right? Hopefully that answer helps you to take a decision. Will the record session? I guess it will be recorded. All right, I guess is Power BI Online capable of real-time insights just like in Fabric? Okay, within Power BI, to be able to use Copilot, as I mentioned before, you may have to have a specific um, fabric SKU, right? So if you use the capacity, the small capacities Copilot, it won't be available. You have to go to the mid-side, big-side capacities, right? With more processing power, etc., etc. I believe there is a session later today that will focus on capacity, and they will explain that later on. Mhm. All right, glad to see too many good questions here. I don't know if there is any closing remark here. I just want to thanks everybody to be part of this session. Thanks, David, for having me today. And well, enjoy the rest of the event today, right? Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.